to connect.
Cool. Oh, where's my copy? Actually, let me go get my copy. Wait. I don't know why I didn't have this in my hand already.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Meet you as well. I'm looking forward to our chat today.
Yes. Okay, so hi, my name is Nokukhanya. So I'm a bookstagrammer and booktuber sometimes. Haven't been on booktube in months, but I'm a bookstagrammer most of the time. I kind of review books, go to coffee shops, do that kind of thing. That's mainly what I do on Instagram. So yeah, and I have a particular affinity for African lit. I studied African lit in school, so it's always like I'm always ready to read African lit books and champion African writers. That's my thing as well. And I love YA as well, and I love a romance novel as well. So the book just kind of falls into all the categories. First of all, how are you? How's life?
Good. It's Friday, so I'm very, very happy. I'm ready for the weekend.
Yeah. So
how are you?
What do you do other than write, by the way?
I'm a mama, so I have a boss. I have a 5-year-old boss. I run a little cafe / ice cream shop / space right here in my little village of Pupengin with a friend, and freelance on a number of projects here and there when and as they come.
Okay, so dabbling here and there, doing a bit of this. Yeah. But I love the whole idea of like doing multiple things. I think it's just like, because I feel like if I was just doing one thing in life, just like doing one job with nothing else to do, I'd probably get so bored.
Yeah, I mean, I do get overwhelmed sometimes, to be honest. And I think writing is the one profession that lets you sort of travel and never get bored because you're inhabiting all these characters. So when I'm writing, the other things sometimes feel like distractions. But I try to organize my life so that I have the coffee shop like 6 months in a year, and then I'm writing the other months in the year. So everything gets enough love and attention, because it can be hard.
Yeah, it actually can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to think, should you start with questions about the book or questions about writing? Let me start with questions about writing, okay? Because
okay.
That was like, okay, so how long have you been writing for?
As long as I can remember. Like I remember like being a kid and like coming up with these stories and like selling them to my friends in the neighborhood. And then in elementary school, taking part in essay contests, writing competitions. In high school, even, I became a sort of closet writer. I don't know why. I just hid that I could write. I'd write poems in my diary, and then I was studying science. And it wasn't until college that I started taking like writing classes. But yeah, for as long as I can remember, I've always written and like, imagined.
So you always know that you wanted to do it as like an occupation, above and beyond something you just like to do. Is something you wanted to do for like a job?
I mean, I saw my parents do that. They were both journalists, and they had a newspaper, and then they had a magazine. So I saw that you could write for a living. It seemed like it didn't pay so well. So then I thought I need to do something that's gonna, help the family out a little bit. So I thought, okay, be a doctor. But eventually I just came back home because I just really enjoy the research and coming up with stories and figuring out the whys, why we're here, why does this happen, why does this look this way? And the perfect way to do that was to write and to have conversations with people through these works.
Are you a big reader as well?
I am. I've been going through a bit of a reading slump lately. I don't know if it was the pandemic that did it, but there are periods when I just, devour things. I remember I was, when I was pregnant, I read, like I was on bed rest, so that helped too. I couldn't go anywhere. And I read so many books and it was really nice. And then the child came and then I couldn't do any reading for a while. And then there've been periods since then where I catch the reading streak again, but I think now I'm kind of in a slump. I don't know why.
I think there's something happening in 2020.
Okay.
Like,
That's good to know that it's not just me, but
like,
as a writer, you need people to read, but
yeah, everyone is in a book. Well, on the Bookstagram side, people are still buying books. We're just struggling. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think it's this post-pandemic moment where people just a bit dizzying, and like nobody really knows which way is up. So like it's hard.
Exactly.
During the pandemic, everyone was reading because like everyone was just like stuck at home, and people were reading so quick and reading so many things, and now it's just like kind of plateaued, I think.
Yeah. But I'm hoping like once things calm down again, people get back into. I want to get back. There's so many books that I want to read, so I need this phase to like go away quickly.
Of your three, you have 3 books now, if I'm not mistaken. 5.
Yes.
Why do I know about 3? Oh my god, I need to do my Googles.
So maybe the first 2 you know less about. Hamatan Rain is the first one, and then Saturday Shadows. That's the less known of all 5 of them.
100 Wells of Salaga was the one that kind of like, I think that's the one that everybody knows.
Exactly. That got translated into lots of languages, and really had good distribution everywhere. And then the follow-up, The Deep Blue Between, also. So those were the books that like pushed me out there.
So of all the ones you've written so far, including Zainab, because I think like for me, maybe it's because I haven't read the first 2, but I feel like Zainab is a bit of a departure from the other 3. Maybe not just because thing, but there's a vibe that's different. So like, what was it that shifted, and like what was it like shifting? Like I think the genre is not the same either. I mean, I think you gravitate a lot towards like younger main characters, but the genres are not the same. So what was the shift from especially from 100 Wells of Salaga and The Deep Blue Between to then writing Zainab?
The pandemic, I do love writing books that have me like digging deep and doing research, and like, but that takes time and that takes a lot of patience. But then the pandemic hit and I thought, are we all gonna die? It was like those early days, and I thought, okay, if we're all gonna die, I have always wanted to write a book about New York. And so maybe this is the time to do that. And then as I was writing, as I began to explore what that would look like, I also thought, I love the rom-com. Like it's now that I've written a romance novel, it's less of a secret, but it used to be my guilty pleasure to just sit down and watch a good rom-com, like, oh my goodness, I have so many of them, like Love and Basketball, Love Jones, like all the high school ones, all the high school, all of them, like guilty pleasure. So I thought, okay, why don't you? Like I know all of them. And Sweet Home Alabama. Oh my gosh, I love romantic.
No one else really 100% like it's not as hype, but I love Sweet Home.
It's so good. It's so good. So yeah, I really do love the romantic comedy. And I thought, okay, we're gonna die, do something you love. Not to say I didn't love writing the other ones, I really did, but I thought, okay, time is limited. You want to do this before you die, just do something fun, write your homage to New York. And so all these things came together. And as I was writing, it was pretty cool because suddenly I found myself actually doing some of the same things I did in the other 2 books, even though the genre is very different. So it was a very different process of writing, but it led me down a similar road.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about New York, because with Zainab, like how, or I don't know, it's like, is this a question? How autobiographical is the book? I feel like it reads like something like you've lived some of this stuff. So like when you were writing it, like were you drawing on your own life? Like tell me about New York. Like, did you ever live there? What was your experience like? Like what was like the motivation, or like what's the word I'm looking for? Not motivation. What was what is this English word I'm looking for? Anyway, you get what I'm saying. What was the motivation writing Zainab?
So I lived in New York, let's see, 2 years, 2005 to 2007, and then another 5 years from 2009 to 2014. It's about 7 years total. And even before I lived there, it was this place that had just captured my attention and my interest. And I would spend summers in New York even as I was in college. So like Zainab, I was in a women's college in Massachusetts. So I think the shell for Zainab is pretty autobiographical. You know, this girl has been in a women's college in the middle of nowhere in Massachusetts and moves to the Big Apple. So that structure was based on what I had lived. But she becomes her own person very, very quickly. Obviously, like I had lived in New York with roommates, and some of them I'd ask, I'd be like, can I share your horror stories? Or can I share this thing that we experienced together? So I drew on a couple of those. But with any creative project, you start and it becomes its own thing. So in the end, like it just became its own story. Let's see, I'm trying to think that there are definitely like bits and pieces, like there's a mouse in an apartment, and it was talking to one of my roommates that she reminded me of the mouse that we saw. No, it wasn't in the apartment. We saw a frozen mouse in the supermarket. So details like that, like she reminded me of, and I said, okay, it has to be in the book. But the story became its own thing very, very quickly. Yeah.
So in writing about the city, did you fall in love with it again in the process of writing?
I did, and at the same time, I was glad. Go ahead, sorry.
And do you miss it? When you were thinking about Zainab and writing, did you miss it, or did you think that was a great time, but yeah, I'm glad I'm out of there?
I think it was, before writing Zainab, I always looked back on that time with a lot of nostalgia, and I do miss New York. I do love it immensely. It's like one of my favorite cities, maybe because I came into myself over there. I just created my own family over there, a new family, and I felt very free, going from some of it self-imposed, like very rigid ways of being, and then moving there, I just got to know what it meant to just breathe and be free. So I missed it a lot when I moved away and I came to like a very traditional tiny village. And it wasn't until I wrote Zainab that I think I had the time to process what it meant to have all of that and to let it go. So I think writing Zainab finally let me release New York, and these days I don't feel that yearning anymore. But for a long time, like I would watch films with New York in it, and my heart would just, pinch itself, like, oh my goodness, I miss it so much, or talk to my friends back there. And finally, I think just doing that job of exploring what it means for a young person to live in a city like that, a city of possibilities, a city where you can become anything you want, where all sorts of things happen, good and bad. It was a lot to go through in my 20s, and I hadn't done that processing, and writing this book helped me do that. And I just relinquished all of that after writing Zainab. So now, like, I'm happy to visit, but I think I'm at peace with not being in New York anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So you spoke about a little bit now about like your found family when you were in New York, and like these connections that you made, and it's a theme that is kind of that is also like present in the book. With Zainab and her two core friends. One is a childhood friend, but then and her Mary Grace that she meets when she's driving down. So for you, like, and then on top of that, there's the romance element. So for you, when you think about the book, like, how, I don't know if you can, like, I'm a person who likes to place favorites, but like, of the two different like themes of like different types of relationships, which one do you find you gravitate more towards? The romance element in the book, or the friendship element in the book? Because they're both like, it's almost like they run parallel and they're equally weighted, if that makes sense. like the way you wrote it, even though it's a romance book, the friendship element comes through really, really strongly. So which of the two did you enjoy? Let me say, did you enjoy writing more? And did you like
the friendship element? And that was a surprise to me because I started out thinking of writing a romance novel, right? But the friendship that develops between Zainab and Mary Grace especially is just like so beautiful. And then even exploring what an old friendship could look like and what happens when you as a person changes, you know, what that does to these kinds of childhood friendships that a lot of us just, you know, carry along and hope will last forever. And like what that looks like when, you know, growing up and being forced into being mature and all these life things are thrown at you, what that does to the friendship. So I think I really enjoyed writing those. And the way I imagined this book is that it's actually a trilogy, so it's not done. Yes, I feel like I don't talk about that enough, or it wasn't pushed enough as that, because the story cannot end there. It's just the story with Kweku is just beginning, you know. It's
not like of different characters. It's Zainab throughout. Like
Zainab throughout, and the grandmas are gonna come in and do their Greek chorus thing of interfere or trying to interfere. I don't know how much power Zainab is going to give them, but the idea is to explore some of these friendships, especially like, as I said, with Denswa. They're definitely going in different directions, and to see what's going to happen to their friendship, and to see what's going to happen to the friendship with Mary Grace as Zainab gets more comfortable in her skin as well, with that, what's going to happen. And there's going to be some drama between the two of them. Obviously, I feel like it's also building up to that. I haven't started writing it yet. I don't know when I'll write it, but there's more to come there. Yeah.
Okay, that actually, like, that's so interesting, because I think a lot of people who write romance novels and also who write like early adulthood books, it's very rare that the book will be a series unless it's a fantasy. If you notice that, like, fantasy is the only does that. Whereas like other books, and you always end up at the end like, oh my God, why would you just stop here? Like, there's so much, especially with romance, there's so much story after the initial like attraction or the initial getting together. There's so much story afterwards, and I'm always here for books that explore like the development of romantic relationships after the big
before is fun and games. Like, what happens after? That's what we want to know, you know.
All flirting, and then the big moment and the big grand gesture, and then when you actually have to life with this person, then
that's what we need to know. And that's what we need to know.
The ends, that's where the book usually ends, and then you're sitting there like, okay.
No, in this one, my conception of it was, it's going to open up. Like, we need to spend more time with these characters, and Zainab is growing also. Like, she's like, in this book, you've just met her, you know, she's just coming into understanding her relationship with her friends, with this new guy, with her grandma. Like, there's so much more to come. So yeah, it's not the end.
Speaking of the romance, okay, so there were a couple of guys. Okay, so was it, okay, no, is this a spoiler? I think it actually, no, I'm not going to say that. You
can spoil. I think you should spoil.
Okay.
Spoil away.
Was it always going to be Kweku? Was it always going to be that guy? Or were you playing with it up until the end? Because there was a couple of guys who were thrown into the mix. I was personally here for the boss because I like a bit of drama. I like a bit of drama, but like, was it always going to be him, or did you play around with like alternatives like Alex maybe, or like Sam? Were you thinking about it, or it was never an option?
Well, is it Kweku is the question, you know.
Okay, I actually like that, because it means
that's the question.
Now we have to read to see if they're gonna manage to stay together. We'll have to.
That is a big question, because I was sensing red flags even at the very last minute. Is it Kweku? Yeah, so.
I liked Alex also. I thought this is gonna work. And then I was what a typical I'm so over it. Even what was Densu's guy's name? Okay, him, I saw red flags from jump. I was like, no.
Oh yeah.
I was like, no, this is
no, he was just bad news. Bad news.
Oh,
yeah.
no. Okay, now I'm actually so curious because I was like, okay, the childhood bestie, this seems like, okay, this seems like it makes sense culturally, like their vibes match. But like, okay.
Is it quick?
New York is very big.
New York does funny things to people. Like it does, oh my goodness. When I think of some of my own experiences and my friends' experiences, there's always a plot twist. Like, wait, I thought, how? Okay. So yeah. Is it Kweku?
Oh God. That I feel like now that question's gonna haunt me until I actually
until I write the next installment.
You're saying you haven't even started writing means that, oh Lord, it's probably gonna
give me up to next year. I have a big book I need to finish, work through, and then I'll come back to this.
Oh, you're writing something else now.
I am.
You are just so you haven't taken a break from writing, you're just taking a break from Zainab. Zainab is oh, okay.
Zainab is taking a little, because I've had this idea brewing for a long time and now it's ready to come out. So I'm giving it the space to, it's like having children. This child wants to be born now. It'll be born now. And another, the twin, how like you have some families and you have like one child who really looks like the third child. So yeah, that kind of thing. And
so is it, okay, so the new book, I haven't seen anything. So I'm assuming you haven't announced.
No, it's still in seed form, but it's just started budding like a tiny little seedling. Like the fresh leaves haven't even come out yet. So it's still like very much so in
still gonna be next year by the time we get a cover, by the time we get
we'll see how fast I can pull it out. I mean, I did a ton of research for it in the last month, so I'm feeling saturated. Like a lot of the time I have to feel like I know what the story is about before I even start to write. Zainab was different because I started with New York and a girl moving to the big city, and then I just wrote, and then things started popping up as I was writing, which was a nice experience. But I think generally I have an idea of, like I have a plan. I know where things are, and then I can decide to pop in wherever I feel like most inspired to work on. And this is what's happening with this book as well. Like the plan is, I want to show you, let me see. It looks crazy, but I feel like I need to show you. Can I flip and zoom on this thing? Let me see. Okay.
Is that wall?
Yes.
Is that the ideal wall?
That's the ideal wall.
I love that you like that wall. That actually,
that's the ideal wall.
I love sticking things on the wall. Even when I study, I feel like you absorb information.
It helps, and then I come to it and I scribble and it's just making things click in place. And then I feel less crazy because a lot of the time it's the ideas whooshing in. And this, all I'll say is this book spans a couple of millennia. That's all I can say. So it's really...
We're getting literary historical fiction vibes.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. I think. Let me start writing before I start talking about it. I shouldn't jinx it.
Okay. Like I feel like okay. So that's gonna be something to look forward to. And then hopefully Zainab will come back and
she will come back. And it's a fast book to write. It's just like you know, I get in it, I'm in New York, in a New York state of mind, I have my music, and then it writes itself so fast. And I had so much fun writing Zainab, so much fun. Like even like scenes, there was a scene with the fortune teller. I've never been to a fortune teller in my life, but it just came to me, and it's like one of those quintessential New York things. Like you see the signboard with like the velvet curtains, and I thought, okay, just put her in there, let's see what happens.
Do you find romance to be easier to write then, in a
Not
way?
that I find it easy, because there are certain rules
Yeah.
in the genre also, which I completely just broke because and I used to think I wasn't, that I was, you know, very like this, but I realized with growing up that I am a rule breaker, and I wanted to write a story about a girl who falls in love with the city and with the people in the city. So that's maybe what makes this book a romance novel. It's not just the relationships between her and her lovers, but just the love she has for New York is like palpable from day one, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a love story with New York as a character too. Yeah.
And there's an element of kind of self-evolution and self-love and self-discovery.
Yeah, a lot of that.
In the book. And I love those kinds of stories, especially with young Black women, because there's not a lot of them that tell that particular story. And it's also not a particularly traumatic book. It's not a book like that's like this. It's not like your other books that were a little bit
It's not.
Like the 100 Wells of Salaga, that was a little bit harrowing, you know.
Ooh, yeah, that was
not that. So it's a nice. So that brings me to like basically my last question. So if you were to recommend this book to any particular group of people, obviously understanding that like your book could be read, who did you write it for, and who would you want to have read it?
I think I wrote it for me at like age 20, you know, like starting off in life, and to show like the comedy that life can throw at you, and like to just take it as it comes, you know. So young people like starting out, I wrote it for people who like New York. I think I keep harping on that, but it's also actually a book about walking. It's a big walking book. So like, I think of books like Teddy Cole's Open City, and then there's Sebald. He has books about walking. There's another one about New York and like a man just wandering about. And Zainab herself talks about the flaneurs, like the French walker. Like I feel like a lot of European writers just had the characters walk. And so I'm claiming that too, as a Black, you know, female writer, we can also just walk, you know, and experience a place that way and not have it be traumatic, you know. So I mean, she does suffer something when she does take a walk.
Yeah, she does have a little moment. It's a normal, I want to almost say it's a normal part of living in a city. It's not a city,
exactly.
Not a singular, especially it's not a specifically racialized.
Yeah, it's just, it can happen to anyone. Anyone.
Thing that happens.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to actually seeing now literally my brain will not stop thinking.
Oh dear, for the next 2 years.
I can't stop thinking about, oh my God, who is it gonna be? Because low-key chaos. So I'm low-key hoping it's not gonna be Kweku, because I feel like that's and I
almost too easy, right? It's almost too easy.
I like a chaotic romance. So I'm rooting against them now. So you'll have that energy coming towards you.
No, she's gonna have some adventures, and we'll see. I really don't know. Is it gonna be Kweku? Is Alex gonna make a comeback? Because I think for now he's been booted off the stage, but is he gonna make a comeback? I don't know.
Oh my God. And bring the boss back as well, because that's the kind of drama that I live
for. With his ponytail.
Hey, thank you so much for sitting.
Oh my goodness.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi guys. So just as Nokukhanya is still on, yes, I want to just look back into something that Ayesha was saying. So Ayesha was like, oh, Zainab is such an easy book to write, you know, romance. Which I'm just like, okay, yeah.
No, not
so
romance, not the romance genre. I'm saying Zainab.
Zainab.
Fun to write.
Okay. So then
Yeah,
I got
romance
curious.
has its rules.
I got curious. So how long did it actually take to write Zainab? I'm very curious about that.
So let's see, I started, when was the pandemic? When did we're still in the middle of, let's see, 2021, and 2020, I had a book come out in October 2020, but I think I started writing Zainab maybe in April 2020. And by January 2021, we had sold it. So
Yes.
yeah, so it wrote itself very quickly. Yeah.
Okay. I read something recently where Akwaeke Emezi said that they decided to write You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, which, guys, please, I have not read it yet, but I have had things.
I don't want to talk about it. It's gonna stress me out. So don't even.
Nokukhanya, I was like, should I mention this book? Because
Book of the year. So don't even talk about it. It's like I'm gonna get.
In regards to that book, so that is a romance novel, which is then, because I feel like this is the year that literary fiction writers decided, you know what, they're gonna do a fuck you book. Now, Ayesha, Akwaeke said something in regards to, they made a game plan and were like, it would be easier for them to put out literary fiction first as opposed to commercial fiction. And I just want to know, with your experience and the years you have been writing full time, is that true?
Honestly, I don't know. You know, every path is different, and for me, I really struggle with being put in a category. Like I just write. I'm not, like I said, romance, but I don't even think this book is like in the strictest sense a romance novel. You know, it's like, it's lighthearted, yes, but it's like to put in a category, it's hard for me. Like I don't know.
Okay.
When we're trying to sell it, some people said to us, "Oh, it doesn't read as commercial as we'd like," you know. So
what?
I do not know what commercial fiction is then, you know. So.
Oh my God. Okay, and
that feedback.
And I am curious as to something within the book, which Nokukhanya, I don't know if you saw this, but is it just me? Or does Zainab have a thing about she has not had sex and it then starts doing a little nyang, 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 nyang on several parts of the story? And I think that's just something that I got curious about. I don't know, I'm not claiming to feel attacked or anything. I just want to know why that was important in the story. I know it's, yes, it meant something, but why was this girl constantly reminding us she's not had sex? I'm just curious.
Have you not met people like that? It's like a thing.
Girl, when I said I'm feeling attacked, there is a reason. Please fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks.
I think that it was a very realistic depiction, especially when you get to her age. It's easier when you're 18, 17, because it's expected. Once you get to 21,
20s, and in a city like New York,
a virgin, then it becomes a thing. Because that was my own experience as well. It starts to become a constant
loop.
Because everyone is. It's like you feel like people can almost see it.
Smell it off of you like fresh meat.
Your brain starts to run away with you. So I feel like that was very I felt bad.
I remember this I stole from my own life and put in Zainab's. So there was a person I was dating and they were like, "Oh, how did I not see that?" Like, of course, like when you've been banging, like your hips bloom, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, are you serious? People can actually walk around and see who is doing who, like
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my God. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for writing a book about me. Oh my God. The only place I've not yet taken is New York, but we'll be there. Ayesha, just towards the end of this, I'd like to ask, do you have the book?
I have it in, I still don't have my physical copy.
Really?
The mail
Why?
is slow.
Is it
It was
popping
sent
in? Do you need to
to-
get out of there?
It's a magical village. Okay,
Okay.
where are you? Where are we?
Page 133.
Oh, I was just there on 132. Perfect.
I'm page 133 when it starts at bicycles shot past me. Yes. Until until the fear is ancestral.
Yeah.
1 second before you start, I want to say, I have to run. I need to go to the airport.
Oh,
okay. Travel safely. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Same here. Same here.
Look, I almost forgot it. Put it in my bag. I'm flying back home tonight. And it's too hot in London. I'm over it. Like, I need to go. Like, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nokukhanya, thank you so much.
To meet you both, like in physical
Books
form,
loves you.
somewhere one of these
Have
days.
a safe flight to SA.
First, we get some African books.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. Indegwa, shall I read it?
Yes. From bicycle shot past me, and then we end at page 134 where it says the fear is ancestral.
Okay, it's perfect. That's really what I wanted to read as well. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Bicycle shot past me. Cars and trucks rattled by, and I began my incline up the bridge. By summer's end, I wanted to have crossed as many of the bridges in New York City as I could. They were such feats of engineering genius and design. My father wanted me to do structural engineering, his own dream job. He'd ended up teaching physics instead. But I was too much of a storyteller to live his dreams. When he next visited, we would walk on this bridge and as many he would allow me to show him. I missed him and wanted to talk to him about things I couldn't broach with my mother, like how he lost his faith and found it again. Maybe he'd have an explanation for the voices and everything would make sense. He told me he was agnostic in his university days, and maybe even when he'd met my mother, which he'd probably chosen to interpret as someone she could convert to her religion. Emma saw the world along very specific lines, like everything had to be pristinely clean, and life's big changes happened because Allah willed them so. And these beliefs weren't to be crossed or colored out of. Maybe because she and I had spent too much time together, we knew how to annoy each other, me with my mess, she with her rules. And because of that, Papa had fewer faults in my eyes. Why don't you call him then? He was too busy with his new family to listen to my troubles. Or what if he said something that destroyed the image I kept of him? I loved the way he was a dreamer and left room for doubt. He was the one who taught me to love walks and to notice the things everyone seemed to be ignoring. He introduced me to the word flaneur. He loved French literature and movies. Let's go, ma petite flaneuse, he called out every time we left the house for a walk. I felt a twinge of sadness. Was it only Papa who truly understood me? And yet I couldn't even call him. Maybe there was hope with Alex. If we worked out, I hoped we would have a good relationship, that he wouldn't annoy me, judge me, belittle me, or keep things from me. As I approached the middle of the bridge, my thoughts shifted to people who had ended their lives by throwing their bodies into waters like this. They had to have been pushed by very powerful forces, physical or spiritual. That evening, I was feeling sad because I couldn't understand my relationships. Why did it feel like Denswa and Mary Grace kept things from me? But even that sadness couldn't push me that far. I looked behind me to make sure no person with designs on shoving me was close by, even if a large cage had been set up to prevent any falls. the fear is ancestral.
And that was one of the things that was one of the passages that I thought was the very embodiment of this book, because you just said a while ago that this book is about walking.
Yeah.
And I just feel that we really don't talk enough and say much about when we walk, the things that we go through mentally.
Yeah.
And even the questions like, why did it feel like so you said denswa. Okay, because I've been saying densua. I don't know why.
Denswa.
Okay, Denswa and Mary Grace. Why did it feel like Denswa and Mary Grace kept things from me? I'm just like, this Ayesha brought up Open City and the nuances with actions that we don't even stop to think about, like twice with walking. And I'm just like, she took New York took her. There was something innate that surfaced in this book with Zainab. And I'm just in love with that passage. It tells so much. And I feel like for anybody who actually gets this book, there is a lot that is going to be opened up for them. This is funny and very specific, but you make me feel like I fucking need to finally get on an airplane and go to New York.
Go to New York.
Yes, because
New York needs to pay me.
Yes, and I feel like this is a gift to the world that everybody needs to have. And thank you so much, Ayesha, for writing this. And I can't wait for book 2.
2 and 3.
and 3. And girl, of course, we love the written word forever, but crossing our fingers for a series or film, who knows? I'm just saying. I have a question for you personally. I think, well, yes, as this is still recording, I'm like, yeah, everyone is going to see this. Do Marcos in Italy,
yes,
they're in love with you a lot, because this book was out in Italy before we got it.
Yes.
Do you have, is there an official publishing deal for you in Italy now? Like it's in the bag.
I hope they keep publishing my books. They're an indie publisher, small press, but they have published 3 of my books, and that's really amazing. And
you think they will? I thought of it, and you mentioned Hamilton Rain and Saturday's Shadows, and do you think that's coming in Italian?
Who knows? Sometimes people go back and they decide, oh, we want this. So who knows? Publishing game is a long one, so
crossing fingers for you.
Yeah, surprises happen, and even things you think have been on the back burner for a long time can come back. People's books that they published years ago are suddenly in reprint. So who knows?
Yeah. Because the 100 Wells of Salaga popped, like properly popped, and I'm not. That is not even hyperbolic. I can tell you for a fact, even in Nairobi, this is like, it's cultic at this rate.
Wow.
Yes, that's how you need to show up. You need to properly show up.
I need to get on that plane too and come your way.
You need to come to Cheche and sign these things and the rest of your books here. I'm very grateful, and thank you so much for joining us. Zainab Takes New York was fun.
It was fun.
It was, I loved the writing. We all did. We've sold, we've gotten people coming back and being like, you understood me when I said I was looking for a light read. Someone literally came
and
in.
It's important. I think we need a lot more African books that people can read and also like see themselves in, or like just escape into. We need a lot of those. So I'm happy to contribute.
And you did it fabulously, and I am really enjoying doing this so much. I think I'm just
I
going to
love
take it to the end. I don't, okay, wow. I didn't realize I'd carried this many outside. Wow. It,
Thank you.
and thank you for this gem of a book. We love it. We love you. And to all who will watch this, Zainab Takes New York is available at Cheche. Has been flying off the shelves, literally. And Ayesha, keep doing that thing. That book about the cola nuts, girl, like yesterday. Yes, I did it
There's so many
yesterday.
books to write.
That wall with the
know.
plants, amazing. And have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Dagla. Ciao, ciao.